Jeff Scott here, email address. Everybody knows who I am on this call, but we put it up later for the general population of HGSI. It's right down here. And today we're going to talk about the warehouse module, which I would argue is the most powerful part of the software. In fact, there are entire software programs out there, such as VectorVest, where it's basically the warehouse module with additional front-end features. Obviously, it's not the warehouse module. I've also tried to go with a larger mouse head, so maybe you can see my mouse this time. Let's see how much it lags. All right, usual disclaimer, I don't need to spend a whole lot of time here on this, but this is for educational purposes only, and you all know that I'm not a broker. This is not investment advice. And Godzilla Moosehead. Okay, Scott, nice name. And that I have paid for everything that I demonstrate, and I think that gives me the ability to say what I think. Sometimes I probably shouldn't say some of the things I say. This is the fourth one. My intent is to helpfully level the HGSI user player field. The amazing thing is I get a lot of comments from people that already have been long-term HGSI users that they're finding this useful. And I invite for the live conference anybody that's coming to Florida or came to New York. And I will stick a link in the Dropbox for the South Florida, and not the link, I'll stick the file. I guess I'll stick it in the New York file as well as send out the links to everybody into their Dropbox. The ultimate goal here is to use the live in-person meeting for trading, philosophy, teaching, and tools, and not for program instruction, although I'm certain I'll do some of that as well. Housekeeping, pretty similar to last time, but I finalized everything. I will continue to put a bunch of things in the Dropbox for South Florida as the next couple of weeks go by. I have a tendency of dropping things that I think are interesting, and you don't have to take them out or look at them if you don't. At the meeting, I'll show you how to use the TOS scripts. Maybe I'll show you next week if we have time. I finalized plan for the two dinners. Saturday night we'll have a barbecue at my house. Again, if you haven't told me about vegetarians or vegans or gluten-frees, I need to know. I know one of each exists. And spouses are welcome at no cost. On Sunday, we're going to go out to, I went in between. It's a fancy place, but we're going to have a private room, so slacks and a shirt are fine, no coat necessary. It's a fancy restaurant, though, and if you want to bring your spouse or your significant other or whomever, you're welcome to. There'll be an extra charge per person additional. So that means you're covered if you're a registrant. But when we did it in New York, I thought I was going to have a separate wives program where they pay for themselves. But with the weather, it became just a disaster. So I'm very clear. They're very welcome to come. And in fact, I need them to come to get my minimum of 30. But I'll subsidize, but they got to pay for some of it. Upcoming webinars, I'll do this on Sunday. I'm going to do a live webinar, weekend review, so I'll go through my entire process. You're all welcome to participate. I'll drop the movie in the Dropbox. A week from today, we'll do the charting module. And then probably the Tuesday of that following week, I want to go over HGSI lingo and put it all together so that when you get here live, you don't have to ask me what a Eureka is. Again, the top 5 on this rooming list, I had to put my credit card in because of some changes. So if you haven't already called to give me your credit card, please do that, or make sure you do it when you check in. And I think that's it on housekeeping. We talked about this last time, and we'll look at my settings again and make sure we went back to the right place. But if you see that your things do not match what we do here, don't fret. Make sure you don't have a filter on. And then these are not necessarily the settings. We're going to look at the settings in a second because I've been changing them a lot. But make sure that you have the same index options if you're going to be upset that yours look different. And then lastly, I'm going to work with George over the following, well, probably this week, and I will take all my useful views and filters that I've accumulated over the years, and I will put them in one place for you, and then we'll either before the meeting I'll stick them in Dropbox, or at the meeting we'll all install them so we all have the exact same thing to work from. it'll make life much easier. Today we're going to talk about the warehouse module. No, I don't think you can actually make anything out there. That's not the intent. This is more just to put it out there so you can see what we're talking about. And we'll go into great detail about what's in it. Now, many of you, some of you may have noticed that I, just for curiosity, didn't know if anybody would say anything about it, but I dropped my Excel weekend review into your Dropbox. And included in there was my list of stocks that I thought were interested for buying, and then how I break them out into individual groups. And when you watch my weekend reviews, you see me do the group performance analysis all the time. And if someone has a question of how to do it, just put a note in and I'll do it at the end tonight. So just type it into the box. But almost every day I run a GPA, and I want to see what's working and what's not working. And I really, the weekend I do a massive one, but during the week I'm looking at how over the week were those LLUR choices that I picked with the group, and we're going to take our own picks when we come together, but we did in March at the PV meeting. Well, those were the leaders in March, and they're leading again, 22-6 gainers to losers this week, up 1.86%. My GIF All-Stars, the thing I put together at the end, the 25 or 30 stocks that make it in lots of those lists, there's a reason. 4 days this week, it's up 1.67%, 75, 76% winners. I always look to see how my buy watch that I picked, it's up 1.3, so that large group of buy stocks, which was 62 stocks, is up 1.32%, which is pretty good because I beat the HGS 100, and I thought I had the IBD 50 in here. I must have not put it in there. And these are not stocks I bought, but these are stocks that we're setting up. I don't buy everything that's setting up, but it gives me an idea of where to hunt for and where I build my screens in TradeStation. And then this here, leaders extended are gone, breakouts, pullbacks ready to run, special situations. These are all subgroups, and I'll go into that file and show you. But one of the nice things about HGSI is the ability to save anything as an HTML file, put it into Excel, and then at any time that you want to go back and do this analysis, it's a piece of cake. What wasn't working? Interestingly, the canaries, although they're starting to stir, are since end of day Friday, are down a little bit. And then the other thing that's interesting is the stocks that were on fire Friday, Kahuna Force, Mobo Breakouts, Pocket Pivots, and a Bible Gap Up, they're actually down 3.5%. And that's kind of interesting, especially when you see only one of them was a loser. So maybe we'll look at that list and see which is the one that's self-destructed. So it gives me an idea of what's working. If I go into Ron's group 06, which is the major market ETFs, I can do a GPA on that alone, and you could see what's moving, and here's the percentage of movement, and you could see natural gas, semiconductors, small stocks, Russell 2000 are strong, and obviously the weaks, treasuries, the VIX and treasuries are weak, and you probably are aware that solar got hammered this week because the Feds came out and put a tax on Chinese solar companies. So I learned a lot from this, and I can do it from any starting point to any finish point. I could do it for 1 day, 1 week. It's really a great tool for understanding what's working. I've got something new today. I'll be able to highlight things and circle them for you on charts and stuff. I'm all excited to have that. Of course, I'll probably ruin it, but we'll see. So topics for tonight are smart groups, to review them very quickly, warehouse, specifically how to construct a view with filters and combos, how I export things to Microsoft Excel. I want to go back into the spectrum analyzer. I don't think I did it justice last week. I really wasn't trying, so I just want to show I do the boxes. And lastly, if I sparked your interest at all in the ranking module, if I did, you'll be one of the few people that actually pays attention to it, I think. It's mean to say that, but I think as a group, we've moved away from it. And I said the same thing last week. I think it's a mistake, and I'm trying to figure out how I can use it more, because there's some things I can do with that I might not be able to do with the other tools. So that's it. Let me go to the chart that says what I'm going to do. Put this in my left monitor so I can refer back to it. So just a couple of housekeeping things before I go too far. This is the spreadsheet that I sent out and I stuck in the box. And it's a sheet that I do every week. And of course, if I do it too often, I'll get nasty letters from O'Neill and Company. But I include in it, I didn't give you my stocks. You don't really need to know what I'm doing, but I tell you, yesterday were great days. This was the buy watch. I said, there's 60-some stocks, and I'm outperforming the market on these. Well, I wouldn't take all these as a buy, but they're all things that we're setting up and helps me formulate my plan for the week. And then I break them down into breakouts, leaders extended or gone, pullbacks ready to run. And the reason why I do that, and this is all Jeffrey, it's Jeffrey whatever, analysm, is because I group them, they have a specific look to each chart. And if I see that pullbacks waiting for a signal are working, then I want to find more stocks like it. If what's working the most are breakouts with great earnings, I want to be buying those, and so on and so forth. That's why I included that. You can use it if you want. Somebody did ask about the Thinkorswim script, so let me show you this real quickly. So here's my Dropbox. I use a lot of Dropboxes, but if I go down to the HGSI doc, this is what you should have. And in this, you'll see two files here. The March one, let me go back, I can't even, that's the wrong one. The March one is were all the things that Bob Meager hadn't finished. Oh, don't tell me I just did that again. Don't say. All right. You go back there. I always have to dummy down the scale of my monitors, and it messed me up this week when I did my review, and it's acting up again. And I like to hide my icons because once I change the resolution of my monitors, my icons get all jumbled. All right, we'll see if that works. So I'm not going to, all right. So basically in the Dropbox, again, go down to you'll find your HGSI Doc South Florida Summit, and here are two files. The March seminar is which is the big one, is pretty much the complete Thinkorswim script that we have from Bob Meager. Bob Meager is our resident ThinkScripter. He's outstanding. He does this for us because he's a nice guy. And I did call to get permission. So the kahunas, the pocket pivots, the Bible gap ups, all the things that we'll talk about across platforms are there for you at no charge for Thinkorswim. And then he's added some things since the meeting, which are labels that go on the charts, which are really cool, and you have that as well. So, so Jim, they're there for you, and John, I'll get to the GPA at the end. And I mean, I don't say this to be obnoxious, and you've heard me say it before. I don't really do these meetings to make money. I do them because I like to. And as part of, you're spending money to come see me, I'm going to make sure that I give you value, and part of the value creation is to make sure that you have all the toys that I use as much as I can give you that's not breaking any copyright laws. All right, stop it already. Hold on, operator, okay. This computer is not happy today. All right, so I'm in HGSI. Let me see, you got a black screen. Okay. I'm going to open up the warehouse view, and maybe it does not like that pointer software. And here you should see the warehouse view. Now, before we start talking about the warehouse, all right, Jim, if you've got my Dropbox, they should be there. If not, I'll send you another link tonight. I think you have 2 emails. All right, if you don't have the Dropbox, Jim, send me an email and I will send it back to you tonight. First I want to talk about is actually in the designer. And I just want to remind everybody about these green things. So if we remember from earlier discussions, the reference groups are like the library. They're taken care of for you. They're updated automatically. Everything you can imagine is there. Not analysis of anything, but if it's in the S&P 500, you'll find it, whatever ETF, etc. And the user groups are what you make. These things here in green are called smart groups. So all a smart group is a pre-planned view. Okay? So Ian and Ron, myself, and others created a view, and a view equals a filter to isolate what you're looking at or limit the number of stocks you're seeing, and a combo rank to rank them from top to bottom. And I'll go into more detail. But these are standard views that all of us use to some extent, some more than others, and these are the different views that are done. And you see it says 6.5. So today, if I wanted to very quickly see what had a pocket pivot, I go into Chris and Gil, and I'd see pocket pivots. And these would be the stocks that had a pocket pivot today. Now, I don't think they're capping the number of pocket pivots. Well, they probably are because it only gave us 25. So whatever the combo rank, it gives you the top 25. On Bible gap ups, there were 10 today. Last week, I think we talked about United Rentals. They were up big this week, and they're in the same family as Joy Global. I think I talked about the earnings were good and that I'd watch United Rentals because they're the same. If you're a Morales and Catcher fan and you're interested in their code blues, these are their code blue stocks tonight. So we know that these stocks had pocket pivots or Bible gap ups and were attractive, and these are their code red, the ones that Morales and Catcher work with. So again, pre-formatted view, combo rate, and then a limiter to how much you see. And these are some of the ones that people use. In my world, I like the pullbacks to the 50-day moving average and then have momentum with a kahuna. And I looked at 1 or 2 last week, and I think, or 2 weeks ago, and someone said that one of them went up that we looked at. No, that's not a shock because that's my favorite setup. I also like things that are breaking down from the squeeze or breaking out from the squeeze. And if you're Ian and Ron, I think one of Ron's favorite things right now are shadow stocks, $1 to $30. So do not forget these guys exist. The smart groups are very good to find things in. They require little knowledge of how to use the program. And, just for the sake of completeness, one of the things that I do with the smart groups is I go tools, I go group inclusion report, and again, I learn by repetition. I teach by repetition. My assumption is if the bullish of these, because there's some of these that are bearish, my assumption is that if smart groups are good and stocks in smart groups are leaders, then those stocks that are in the most number of smart groups must be the best stocks. So very quickly, we do this all the time. We take sprinters from Ghilardi, and you can pick your own favorites. I'm going to go with best criteria, best of under 15, ERG, growth, HGS leaders, QEPs, shadows, stocks and groups to the upside, both the big ones and the ones less than 15, strong EPS. I'm going to go into my box. I'm going to pick breakouts from a squeeze, pullbacks to the 50. I'm going to go down to Gills, and I'm going to pick Bible gap ups and pocket pivots. I'm going to make a group from this report. And at the end of the night, we're going to just, because I always like to look at charts because I haven't looked at it for tomorrow anyways, we're going to call this GIF. Let's look at 15 tonight. Top 15, I can't spell, and we'll just call, today is 6.5.2014. By the way, on my Sunday thing, I'll probably go long because my wife is out of town, so she won't be mad if I do. And I was going to talk a little bit about the winners and losers at ASCO. So, all right, so this is my GIF, group inclusion filter. And you remember from watching me do this before that what should come to the top are the stocks that are on the highest number of those smart groups. And some nights when I just don't have a lot of time, this is all I do. I run this analysis. It showed up on my other machine. Let me pull it over. And here's the stocks that I want to go look at. Now, we might find that these are the stocks that already popped and already done growing up, and it's too late. But I think if you don't believe me, you will by the time you leave. Singer Island, I'm a buy high to go higher. I just want to buy them at the right point. Lanet is one I made a lot of money. It pulled back. I got back into it a week ago, and I looked at my TOS account today. I said, whoa, I'm glad I bought that. There's been a lot of these are leaders, Micron, SanDisk, Water Run, Gentherm we talked about. Cavium's had a great week. You want to find the best stocks, just run that report, figure out how many you feel like looking at that night, and you look at them. And the other thing that I think is pretty cool that I will go visit later, I can go into my user group, and somewhere will be the GIF that we just did, and there's the top 15 stocks, and we'll look at them before the night's over. So I wanted to go back to these smart groups because no matter how adept you are at HGSI, the program, and how much time you want to give it, all you got to do to build that is go into the designer. You can look at them, or you can go in tools, group inclusion report, and just mimic what I just did and pick whatever number you want. So the way I want you to think about views then is you start with, let's go into the warehouse. And let's go all securities, and we want default view. And I don't want to filter. So in HGSI, you start with 8,026 stocks, ETFs, indexes. Over the course of a year, that number will go up or down. It goes up typically in a bull market when there's lots of IPOs, and in a bear market when a lot of things stop trading, it goes down. So kind of, I bet if I did an analysis of looking at number of stocks in HGSI based upon preceding 30 days in the market, I bet there's a correlation. And the nice thing about HGSI is it's fully customizable. Now, I would use filters, perhaps, to limit what makes it here. Now, I can do several things. I could use, in this box where here where my red thing is, which says all securities, I could go into pre-selected groups. I could look at just market indexes. There's no earnings on an index. That's why these are zeros. I could look at components of the oil index. So this little box here controls what the filters and the combo rankers are going to play with. So almost all the time, this box for me is in all securities. And there's a shortcut that I never use because I don't pay attention to shortcuts when I should. Now, one shortcut is if you want to go to the top or the bottom, you left click in this little rectangle right here. So again, the point thus far is you control what instruments you are analyzing by what's in this blue box. Now, the next box, or blue box, is the view. And I'm going to have you come over where my arrowhead is, and there's two boxes I want you to look at. This one says choose and create view. Okay, now here's where my being too big of a mouse. I hit on that, and it looks kind of like the designer does, where you have the different modules that you only have these if you do the add-ons like I showed you last week. And within the module, you will see the views that make the smart groups. At least in mine, I thought in HGSI, let's see. They're in here somewhere, but the views that make my smart groups. And then these are all views that I have created for various reasons. And I believe all of these are in the program. And I'm going to take some of my other views and things that I have down here and elevate them to production, and then George will build out my section. So I have, just to clarify or say again, within my name, I have the smart groups that make up the things, the views that make up my smart groups, and then I have created a number of different views. And what a view is, let's switch to box 127 heaven. What I love things that are box 1, 2, and 7. They're the ones that I made the most money. So I took those 8,000 stocks that were in all securities. I put my view on box 1, 2, and 7. I've dropped it down to 119 stocks, and the top ones are, gee whiz, VIPS, Lanet, SanDisk, Lam Research, Micron, Cavium. Go look at the GIF that the group inclusion report. Those are all in the group inclusion report as the top stocks. So I like box stocks. You know that from last week. And all these stocks are either box 1, 2, or 7. Now, you know, you could be a cynic. I'm a cynic, by the way, as you'll see in our live meeting, and say, of course, box stocks do well because box 1 has the highest earnings rate, both quarter over quarter and annually for 5 years. And of course, I'm a big believer that earnings ultimately drives final price. Now, I selected the view. All right, and again, when I select view, I have a number of different views that I have, or I can make my own view, and we'll talk about that in a few minutes. This one here to the right, it says underneath my mouse, edit current view. So what this does, and ignore this because I didn't update the comments, and what it basically says is the view activates a filter and activates a combo ranking. All right? So a filter, and don't worry about how to make them. Just take this at face value. All right? A filter basically defines what stocks I'm interested in looking at. So I could have taken all securities, put this filter on it, and got the same 119 stocks. So it's the filter that's defining the stocks that make it into your view. It is the ranking module or the combo ranker that determines which one's on top. So Ron and I are different. I've learned from him, and then I do things the way I like to do them, which my wife would say is how I approach life as in general. And Ron likes to use combo rankers and define what the best is so it comes to the top, and he doesn't get tight on the filters because he doesn't want to eliminate. Now, you'll notice on my filters that I have if it's a box 7, 1, or 2. So that would eliminate anybody that's not a 1, 2, or 7. So if you don't have a box assigned, or if you're 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, 9, you won't come up. Then I put a filter on for price and volume. So again, I'm limiting what's getting into my spreadsheet. You don't necessarily have to do what I do, and you might want to have it $2 or $1. Is a common stock equals yes? I don't want preferreds, and I don't want weird things, and I don't think I'm going to get ETFs in this either. And then I want things to be above the 200-day moving average. So days down since crossing the 200-day moving average less than or equal to 0. So they can't be below the 200-day moving average. Relative strength greater than 80, and AD rank accumulation distribution C. Now there's a lot of things in here that maybe I don't want. Do I really care if they're below the 200-day moving average? Yes, I care. I don't like to buy stocks in a downtrend. And by putting this in there, if it's days down below the days that it's crossed down below the 200-day moving average is less than 0, it means it can't be below the 200-day moving average. So the filter here is pretty restrictive. You can't be a little stock with no volume. You have to be a common stock. You have to be above the 200-day moving average. You have to have a relative strength rank greater than 80, and you have to have at least C accumulation. And so, all right, you know what? I think the problem is the software with the mouse. Let me kill that software. Hold on a sec. Well, I guess not. I'm just going to have to be careful. Strange. Computer bug. So that's the filter. The combo ranker is something that you're going to develop that's going to help you define what good is. So as I open up this combo ranker, this is telling me, or what, this is something I think I probably took from one of Ron's combo rankers, is he's defining what good is. He's applying a weight to it on the things that are more important than others. So let's look at what he's done here. He's given you a lot of credit if your force index 2-day EMA is high. The higher it is, the better. Lots of credit for being positive force. So that's telling you that the 2-day force, which is price minus price the day before, times volume plotted 2-day exponential, so it's only looking at 3 days of price and volume then, telling you that that's important. He's looking at the 13 days, so he's going back 3 weeks, almost as important. So he's looking at, it's been moving a lot today, but it's been moving up for the last couple of weeks. A white body tells you it closed higher today. He gives a lot of credit if the industry was positive today. Credit for EPS rank, what letter you are, ABC, your dollar volume. So maybe it doesn't matter what price is and volume. Maybe you want to make sure you have $10 million traded per day, so it's enough that Ghilardi can't buy the market, and a dollar stock with 10 million shares might be okay. He looks at, he wants them, he likes them if they make money. Group rank high, return on equity, 5-day change in industry, so both 1 day, which is weighted higher than 5-day, slope of the 13-day, relative strength rank, the higher the better, revenue growth, and then ERG, EPS, relative strength and group rank. So he's kind of got the kitchen sink in here. And if we think about it, it's got lots of technicals, force, white body, industry, but it's also got EPS rank, EPS growth, return on equity. So this one locates top stocks to trade based on both technical and fundamental factors, Stocks have strong earnings and revenue growth over the past year, strong relative strength, group rank accumulation, ROE. So he's really tried to find with this, actually it's mine, the best of the best. So let me show you a couple of things that we could do. And we're just going to stay with this view. Now, one thing I want to show you I'm sorting by raw combo rank. And typically that's what I sort on because combo rank takes into account all of those. So just to review something that I told you, the filter is picking what's here. So let's go into the edit and view, and let's turn off my combo rank. So that means the filter's in place, but we should have the same number of stocks. Hit OK, and we have the same number of stocks. Now, just out of curiosity, if I switch it around, will they change the order? Yeah. It's the same number of stocks, and they're ordered by the raw combo, which was the combo before. Now, if I change, go back here. Now I'm going to turn off the filter and turn on just the combo rank. Hit OK. All right, so I'm not sure I like what I'm seeing, but let's go see what I did. Stocks and groups moving to the upside. Up. Jeffrey did a no-no. You notice I chose what's, that shouldn't block that. Let me go into, all right, so that combo rank, despite what I thought it did, it actually tightens down and gives me less stocks than I got from the filter. So just see what I did, because something doesn't smell right. Let's take a look. Okay, so they're all, okay. So here's what's happened is you no longer have the boxes here. And you no longer have the boxes because I took off my filter that was bringing in all the box stocks. So you need both of them, the filter to define the stocks you're looking at, and then the combo ranker to sort them so that you can get to the 119 stocks. So without the filter, it applied the combo rank to all securities and did get me some great stocks, but it got me great stocks that it did not matter whether or not, I think you have to change it. See. All right, now it did what it's supposed to do. So go figure that one. All right, I must have hit something the wrong way. This is what I thought it would do. As I said, the filter is more restrictive. When I used just the filter, it only gave me box 1s, 2s, and 7s, and we had 109. When I take the filter off, the combo rank brings in a lot more stocks, and it no longer has the filter requirement, which is why we went from 109 to 377. So the difference between, that's the way it was supposed to work. The difference between Ron and I is that I want to limit the number of stocks that get in here. Ron wants to have less limits on number of stocks because he's willing to be more forgiving to let a stock come in that may not be something he's interested in buying, but just so he doesn't miss the opportunity of seeing something that meets the combo rank. So just to go back and go over my flub, a view is a combination of, and I'm going to put the filter back on, so we'll go back to 109, I hope. Just make sure that that worked. 119 rather. So a view is a combination. My filter said, oh, I had the wrong filter on. Ah, thanks, Bradley. Ah. All right, well, I got the right filter now. So the view, filter, combo. So in the perfect world, we're pretty close to a perfect world right now this week, geez. You might be able to create a filter that totally matches your type of stocks you want to buy, and then a ranking module that you then rank them by, and then, you know, I only got 10 minutes. I like buying this group of stocks. I double click on VIPS holding. And I go through it, and, well, what a beautiful pattern. I bet that one had a pocket pivot today. Let's see. So pocket pivot, everything turning green. So this has been one of the leaders in this market. It's been volatile of late. So that's one, probably not too late to buy it. This is Lanet that I mentioned that I got back into last week when it came up here, maybe 2 weeks ago. Nice big move here. You look at the high jump and you say, well, it's not at the top. I mean, when it got up here last time, when it reached its high here, you had a red candle high at the high jump. We still got room. SanDisk, what a leader. Most of these are in the GIF report, by the way. Pocket pivots yesterday, the day before, everything is green. Lam Research. So all right, so Bradley, I appreciate your comments. So let's take a look at it. So I'm going to go back into here. And I'm going to turn off my filter. I'm going to turn off my view, my combo. I'm going to hit OK, and I should see the whole universe. So one of the things with the program, I guess, is that you have to switch. Let me go back. Filter. Okay. I think I see the problem. My filter is staying, all right. So I've got the box 127 heaven here, but I've turned off the filter and turned off the combo rank. That was what the problem was. My filter was on, and it didn't turn off when I unclicked it. If I add the filter, hit OK, I should have my 119. I go back into Edit, and go to the other button, and turn off the filter, and that means I got to turn off the filter there too. That's, Bradley, this is the problem. The filter's staying on. You got to take that filter off to get back to the 826. So no filter on. I go back into my edit view. Now I'm going to put just the combo ranking. So with no filter on, all right, I got it. This is the way it's supposed to work. All right. The problem was my filter was sticking on, so I've got to figure out what setting I have wrong on that. So the combo rank will not kick out securities. And that's why I was sort of stumbling before. I didn't understand it was because I had a filter on. And just to prove, when you get frustrated, what does my slide say? Potential reasons why they're different. Filter. Always make sure you have a filter off before you pull your hair out. So the combo rank has ranked them, and the same stocks basically are here. Now, H&E equipment, I happen to know, this is a Ron opportunity here to say, Jeff, here's why I don't use the filter. H&E equipment was a box 6, so it would not have come up in my box 1, 2, and 7. But HES is number 2 on this combo rank, and you know why HES is doing well? It's in the same industry group as United Rentals and Joy Global. And let me go back to that. So here's where Ron is right or different. I didn't pick this up at the top of my view because I filtered. Yeah, Brad, I know that. I forget all the shortcuts, so I don't even bother. So it's a box 6, but if this market continues, it's mostly green above. It's coming out of a squeeze. It had a mobile breakout a couple of days, a couple of kahunas, big volume. And you can tell I've been watching this stock or in and out of this stock, you don't know, whichever, because back here in February when it pulled back to the 50, it hit my pullback to the 50 with kahuna scans, and I liked it then, and I said 50-year target by year end. So the advantage of using the, it's this pointer thing. I apologize for when it flashes. The advantage of using the combo and not the filter is that everything gets evaluated. Now I'm going to go back into the view, and I'm going to activate the filter, and now I should be back to 119, and I am. So again, as I flubbed through this, I actually learned more from these than probably you guys learned, is the view equals filter and combo rank, and the program comes with a bunch of standards. I want to comment on a couple of standards and then go back into creating. Gagliardi, I've mentioned before, sprinters. So you notice anything about where my mouse is? Brad, I'm not taking offense at anything. Notice it's all green. Green is good. So the Gagliardi, first thing you should notice is it took my 8,000 stocks down to 68, and that they're all green. And in fact, if I rank by ERG, the lowest ERG, so there's 2 below 240, and that's pretty impressive. And if I rank by relative strength, I can see there's nothing below 80. So he's picking leaders that have a relative strength greater than 80, a group rank greater than 80, but he's allowed them to stub their toes and have an earnings per share rank all the way down to 60. But I noticed there's no red in the EPS relative strength group rank and only a couple yellows under ERG. So that should tell you that these are fundamentally strong stocks. Now, the bongo is an indicator that we'll talk about in 10 days that involves a number of wilder RSIs in price. It's a technical indicator. And all the short-term bongos are green. It's similar to the force where the vast majority of the 2-day forces are green and the vast majority of the weekly bongos and 13-day forces are green. There's only one 13-day bongo that's red. So what does that tell me? It tells me that I've got fundamental, strong stocks. If I look at accumulation distribution, they're all A's and B's. Many of them are boxes, but that's not the point of this. All of them are Bongo daily, so they have at least the short-term trend is up. Mostly are Bongo weekly, which is their long-term trend is up, similar to the forces. So these are fundamentally and technically strong-looking stocks. If I go into the Edit View filter and I look at the filter, Edit, what do we see? Relative strength greater than 80, Bongo daily, yes, accumulation distribution greater than B, group rank greater than 80, and EPS greater than 60. So the same things I just showed you, he has selected very tight filters for high-performing stocks. The Bongo is a short-term technical. I guess distribution accumulation is technical. Relative strength is technical. Group and EPS are fundamental, so it's a mixture. If we look at the view, the combo ranking, he's another guy that throws everything into his combo ranking. I'm a better view guy than a combo ranker, but we're all going to have to figure out what works for us as individuals. He put the biggest value on a white body, so you have to be up today. He was looking at high volume today. Your percent volume is greater than your 20-day moving average, and you see the weighting. And as you add something, you can control what it is. I'm going to go through that in a little bit, and you can also control the weighting. So he's weighted volume, revenue, Wilder RSI, earnings to price, industry performance, raw group, Bollinger, percent one-day change, 2-day force, slope of the 13-day. You can read it yourself. He's made this very strict, and what he's done is he's come up with a list that technically and fundamentally are extremely sound, and they're things that I often go fishing for. And if you were to look at that spreadsheet, which I assure you is in every one of your drop boxes, you're going to see that one of my favorite places to go fishing is in the sprinters. So now I want to take you back into the edit view, and I want to make a few more comments. This program has so much under the hood that it probably is part of why people are afraid of it, because there's so much here. I am good at parts of it. I'm not that good at other parts of it, but I'm good at the parts that I need to make money. And that to me is all about it. And there's so much power here of things that I'll never use. And when you come, I don't know how you guys are doing this week. It's been another good week in the market. This has been a great bounce over the last 10 days or so. I don't know how much you guys are in the market, but Monday and Tuesday, I'm sitting there in the morning in meetings and I can't do anything. And I'm looking at one of my accounts and it's down, 1.5%, 2%. Yes, Scott, that's a good number. It was down a couple percent in the morning. Monday and Tuesday, both of them finished the day up, so major recoveries. And then yesterday and today just went crazy. And it's our kinds of stocks, by the way. It's HGSI stocks, IBD 50 stocks that are really kicking the last couple of days. And as Scott put his performance, yep, I'm up there with you. It's just been a phenomenal couple of days. So back to all the things that are available. One thing you might want to ask is, but Jeff, how do you construct your spreadsheet and what do you decide to put in there? So to be honest, this isn't the spreadsheet I like. I created my own. And I call it Scorecard no index, 2.5, and 150,000. This isn't because it helps me trade, it's how I organize. All right, so let me just show you what I did here. My filter, simple filter, simple, 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 simple filter. Edit. Last close greater than 250, 50-day moving average greater than 150,000, and group index equals no. So I have filtered the stock market by only those three characteristics. The amazing thing is the 8,000 stocks get down to 3,331. So as unruly as it may feel, 8,000 stocks and 33 is still a lot, you can eliminate over half the stocks just by putting in a price and volume. Now, I used to only care about 7.5 and 250,000. And if I do that, the 3331 becomes 2397. What happened is the last year, I convinced myself that I'm better off expanding my filter down to $2.50. Now, there's some people out there that are Morales and Catcher fans. So you can build into it, this isn't the right index, but I could build in a filter that finds stocks that are 620 crossovers. So you could filter only for stocks that have crossed up within 3 days or crossed down within 3 days. So you can have any kind of filter you possibly want. I'm boring. I like to look at charts. So I start a simple filter that eliminates price and volume, and then a combo ranking, and I use the scorecard. And if you've ever, well, you all have done them, so I should stop saying if you ever. When I do my weekend reviews, I really point out I use a limited number of views in combo rankers. And I'll show you those before we're done tonight, because there's too much here. I just need the things that I like, I get good at them, and I make money. What else matters? So the scorecard, which is one that comes with it, white body, so you're up to date. Volume is good, so those are the two heaviest weighted. Industry is good. And then a lot of things that you've seen over and over, return on equity, relative strength, group rank, industry performance, raw earnings per share. And the more the better. When it's pointed up, it means the higher it is, the more credit I get, and here's the weighting I give. So to me, it's a very simple view. It's what I like to use, and this is what, well, actually almost the one. Yeah, this is at the Excel view. This is what I use as a routine. Interestingly, that HEES comes to the top. Why? Because I'm not restricting it to box 1, 2s, and 7s. This is the land that I fish from. Now, I want to ignore the filter and the view for a second, and I want to talk about what I have in front of me. You can put anything you want in front of you. And anything that's here, and we're going to go into the list in a second, any of these filters, I can chart with them, I can filter this market with them, I can scan with them. So, and I can put them in a spreadsheet. So the power of this program is you can put anything in a filter or in a combo ranking. And you could get to the point where you spend weeks creating a #1 filter and combo ranker and you find one stock because you get too tight. I'd rather look at charts and look at the top ones. But basically, some of the things that I think are important. Numero uno, earnings due. So for example, if I go into my user group and I look at my buys that I have put together for this week, and I sort by earnings, I can see, you know, before I would buy any stock, I want to know when its earnings are out. And so I'm able to get, according to bar chart, what the earnings date is. And I put that right up to even before the last close. Now the boxes I moved up for another reason. I might put them further back. I care about 1-day and 5-day price performance. I care about the average volume. And I care about how this volume that they had today compared to the 50-day volume. Blackstone Mortgage Trust, 300% volume. That's a big volume day. The rest of the companies were below. You can see down here. The reason why the volume bars are different is all it takes is one giant day to make everything not look right. And so you put, I have different limiters on. And so if you get sort of, you turn the car stereo up too loud, it all sounds like crap. If you have too much volume, it suppresses all the other days. So that's why these two things look different. They have different volume suppressors on. But you could see here how much volume this has going back, this massive volume. And no shocker, it was 800% volume. On a day it was down. That can't be a good thing. Maybe there was a secondary. So how do I create the spreadsheet? I go back into my Edit Current View. Here's the columns to display. Now, let me just do this so I don't screw myself. Whenever you're going to manipulate with something, go into Choose, Create Warehouse View, highlight it, duplicate it. And then go here and hit OK. Let's go into Duplicate. There it is, 1. Now let's go Edit Current View. And I'm just going to call it Test. And again, you don't want to ruin things that are in the program that you're using already. I've done that a few times and I've had to reinstall. Then I'm going to go down here and you could highlight all these and remove them and then start from scratch and build this out. Anything that's over here, and I want to spend a few minutes looking at these, can find its way into a filter, into a combo ranking module, and into the columns to display. So if you're a Steve Bigelow, all right, I got to get rid of this thing. Let me just see if I can kill that. There's a problem with the program with the pointer. It's got to be. So let me see if I can get it out of my memory. Actually, we'll Control, Alt, Delete, Task Manager. I'm assuming this is what it is because it's the only thing that I've added differently. And where is it? Bummer, I can't even see it. All right, well, I guess I'm stuck with it. I apologize for the technical issues. That's why I've got a new computer. That's the right resolution. That won't be doing that coming for the meeting. All right, let's see what happens now. Back here. All right. So, Edit Current View. Okay. So you can open up, and you should. Where is the scorecard ranking located? Okay, I promise to show you that in a few seconds. You can open up, and this window is the same whenever you do an edit view. The filter varies and the score in the combo rank varies. But you could add, you could look for a black body or a white body. You might want to find spinning tops. You might want to filter for a bearish candlestick, evening stars, tweezer tops. Right? You might want to filter for bullish candlesticks. Now there's actually a view that has all the types of candlesticks going across the top, and then you could, put a long list of stocks, and then you just double click on the type of candlestick and see which ones have that type of a candlestick. You can look at different chart indicators. So ADX, the bingo bongos. Okay. You can search for days since then. So somebody asked me before, can you put this in a filter? Absolutely. Anything here in the filters. Bollinger, you can search for mobile breakouts, squeezes. You can put them in here. You see I've got my Keltner squeeze, my mobile breakouts and breakdowns. So anything that's in here, you look at MACD, it won't have divergence, but it has slope and days since down or up since it crossed the zero line. You got the force index, which you know because we use them all the time. Stochastics, how many days since a signal? 1 day change slope. And then Wilder. So here's your parabolic SAR. How many days? This is pretty cool because it tells you with how far are you from the current price today and yesterday, percentage-wise. And I incorporate that in a number of my views. I can look for chart patterns. So almost anything you can look for crossovers. So here's 4 and a 9 crossover on the exponentials. Now, if I was building a filter on that, I could go in and change that to 6 and 20 if that's what I wanted to use. So you can look at moving average crossovers, whether they are simple moving average crossovers or they're exponential moving average crossovers. This is price crossing the moving average or a moving average crossing a moving average. And you could do the same thing, price crossing down or a moving average crossing down over another. So if you wanted to find stocks within 3 days, 6 and 20 up or 6 and 20 down, it's built into the program. Days down or up for the last 5 days in a row. I don't talk much about the Kirkpatrick stuff. I have enough time understanding what I understand. This is basic stuff here. Now you may or may not want this here. Now if I want it, I might want to perhaps restrict a view to certain industries. Okay? I might want to restrict it to those stocks that are optionable. I suspect that someday we're going to get weekly optional as a field as well. Fundamentals, you want to do scans for earnings. So here's the boxes. We've used that in both filters and combo ranks. Current year, current quarter earnings. O-score is a number that I don't use it, but the higher the O-score, the better, and it reflects the earnings and revenue, so many quarters up, down, and it gives you a score between 0 and 1, a percentage, and the higher, the better it is. You can look for various earnings per shares, 5-year, 1 year, quarter to quarter. You could look at going out 5 years, not that you can actually believe it. You could put minimums of earnings per share. You only want things that are making money. Price to earnings growth, the Lynch thing, PE to growth rate pegs. If you care about revenue and anything here, you can filter and say I only want revenue above a certain amount or below a certain amount, and that could filter out stocks, so I have less stocks, or I could put revenue into my combo rank and give the high revenue stocks more credit so they come to the top. I'm not sure I'd ever do that. General fundamentals, a lot of stuff here that no one ever uses, only because they've never looked at it. All of these can be used, again, for informational purposes only when you put them in columns to display, to restrict the number of stocks that come out in your filter, or to rank which is the most important for you. Okay, Brad, I'll show you how you do the moving average crossovers in a few minutes. I think I have to create the filter elsewhere in the program. All right. Industry, picking what industries you want or don't want. If you want to look at rankings, accumulation distribution ranking, new highs, new lows. These are for indexes above moving averages. Talked about group rank, ERG. So again, you can filter to limit the number of stocks that you get down into your view, or you put them in a combo rank and you apply a heavy weighting to them, and things that are important to you will drive those stocks to the top. Lots of different technicals beyond the things we've looked at before. And I urge you to go through this list, because these are the tools that you have, whether we're building a chart, building a view, building a filter. Trading systems. I don't know, this is for the Connors stuff. I think over time we'll get more trading systems there. And then all the things that we have built into the program are listed here. And again, it is probably worth you spending the time at least once to go through. Now, if you're smart, you're probably thinking, but I don't see pocket pivots and I don't see viable gap ups. And I have to create those, the filters are created. They're just not currently a column that I can list. We could probably fix that. So, in fact, let's make a couple filters. So I'm going to let somebody tell me what would they like me to filter. So somebody type in what they'd like me to filter and find for them. Days up. All right. I hope I didn't open my big mouth. All right, I've done this before. Let's see if I can figure out how to do it. I'm going to live where I like to live, which is I did something to this, didn't I? Oh, it's a test. Okay. Go into all securities. You may have noticed that there were some things that didn't have a name. And the reason why they're IPOs, they've got the symbol, but they haven't been built out into the database with industry groups or anything else yet. All right. So the first part of the view is to create a filter. I can create my filter here. I can create my filter in the designer. I hit filter. It's the same either way. And let's see if we can't make a 620 cross. Okay. Let me see how I would make that. So if you notice I'm creating the filter. I'm just thinking a few seconds before I do it. I know I can do it. George isn't on, and George would tell me in a second what I need to do. How did I do that before? I'm thinking about this. I may have to show you on Friday, just like the squeeze thing, days since squeeze I'm going to have. I've done it in a chart. I don't think I've done it in a filter, but it can be done. I'll talk to George, and he'll make sure, and I'll figure out how I have to do it. But we can change these numbers. And the only reason, for those that don't know Gil's all into the 620 crosses. Bradley, is it exponential or is it a simple cross? Yeah, I've got to create the filter. So let me try. I hate giving up. But I did the volume exponential. All right, I owe you a 6 by 20 exponential, but basically we've got hard program the 9 and the 17. I just got to change it to 6 and 20. Gil is looking for stocks to short when the 6-day exponential crosses below the 20-day exponential. It might be a signal. So all we need to do is build in that crossover. I think it's in here. I just got to find it. So for example, this filter here has all the stocks where the 6 just crossed, or not the 6. Where the 9-day crossed below the 17-day. So we've got to edit. I'll talk to George. I think there's a way to do it. But bottom line is, built into the program are a number of crossovers. I have to ask George if it's user customizable, or we just have to add those that people want to use. But again, I just went in there and I went into the days since crossover, days up. So this would be 6. This would be 9 above the 17. So this would be crossovers up, and then the one below it, 9 below the 17. So this might give you potential candidates that are going the wrong way. This should be a smaller number, I would think, with the, well, actually not. So you can use this filter. We can create those filters. I'm going to punt on this and get the answer. If you can do it on your own. This is problem. You know, the minute I get off this call, I'm going to figure out how to do it. But if it's not something I normally do, and therefore I rely on George, but George will be here. So let's just do a simple filter. We're going to do a new filter, and the first thing I always go right to the top is I want price and volume. So I know that those are fundamentals general. Let's see. What I ultimately do is I go down here and last price, last close. So last close, and I'm going to stick to my guns, and I'm going to leave it as a 2.0. Come on. Well, I want you to know that, all right, come back, that I actually put this thing in here because I had some legitimate, positive criticism that they couldn't see the pointer, and it's just killing my program tonight. All right, so last close. You can see how many things you can make filters on. It's absurd, and maybe only too many, but there's nothing too many. Last close, greater than or equal to 2.50. and I want it to be and. I want an average volume. So let's see if I can find something that's good for volume. 17-day, 50-day, 21-day moving average of volume, and I want it to be at least 150,000. So I've started now and created a filter that's price and volume 2 and 150. So all we've done now is when we apply that filter, hit OK, in the database of all securities, using the scorecard ranking module, which is mixed fundamentals and technicals, there's 3,240 securities that are above 2 and 150,000 shares. I don't want 3,240. So now let's go in here, and let's say I'm a big relative strength guy. So I'm going to go find rankings, relative strength rank, and I want it to be at least 80. Because whenever I do my edge rater, it's the high relative strength that seems to drive pricing. All right, so I've now added relative strength. I'm down to 905 stocks. All right, I go back in here. My filter's right here. Actually, that's not the right filter. Never mind, it's this filter. Up into this filter. And now, what else would I want to add? Let's edit it. So I've added relative strength, and I want it to be making money. So I'm going to find earnings. EPS current fiscal year estimate are greater than or equal to a penny. So this way I'm only looking at stocks that are making money, and I want them to be making money this quarter. Now I could set these numbers at any number I want, but I'm just basically saying I'm happy if they make any earnings. So they have to be making money this quarter and this fiscal year. I'm going to call this test. And we hit OK. And now I'm down to 630. Okay? And I could continue until I put you all asleep by gradually adding additional filters from what we just saw into this list. And there are a lot of different things we can do. I might want to add, and they're in a squeeze. So I'm going to go down here to the P's. Where is a parabolic? Here it is. Okay. I think we want less. I got to remember we want it to be below the price, so I think that's going to be less than or equal to 0. Actually, that's the PSAR. I want it to be squeezing. My bad. That's the Keltner. All right. So now I put in has to make money, be my prices, and has to be squeezing. And then we had a request to add a green candle low. And let's see if I can't do that. Equals, yes. All right. This is why Ron would say ranking modules are better than, combo ranking is better than a filter. As Steve pointed out, you could do it to the point where you run out of things to look at. So iGate, who knows about this one, has my price parameters. It makes money quarterly and annually. It's in a squeeze, and it's got good relative strength. It has to be above 80, which is hard to believe, but its relative strength is 96. Now, in reality, stock's in an uptrend. It's pulled back to support. It is squeezing. I'm not buying this right now, but it meets the criteria of making money, making earnings, squeezing, and I'm surprised it's got this high relative strength. Let's take a look at a weekly. Yeah, here's the reason why. It had a huge run-up, and now it's in pullback territory. So that's what happens with creating a filter. You can get your filter to the point that you don't find anything. So let me go back here and switch to the regular filter. Now, let's do the same thing just for the sake of fun with a combo rank. So I'm going to turn off my filter, hit OK, and I'm going to go into the padlock, which is a combo rank maker. And as you can see, let me just take a word, there's a lot of combo ranks in here. I am not a combo ranker extraordinaire. I use what I use. I like stocks and groups moving to an upside and downside. It sort of includes top-down investing in the basic premise because the stock and the group are both moving the right direction. Right? I like volume, buzz, and white body because it requires a stock to have gone up today on huge volume. Now, if I just put that smart group, the stocks that came up to the top have gigantic volume, and my guess is that they had a white body today. Now, there's crap here. There's a lot of IPOs, I guess. So, but since there's no filter, all 8,026 come in. So I combine the two, but we could create a combo rank, new combo rank. We're going to call it Meeting 4. And we can add the same exact stuff. And then we have to put what's important. Now, I might go, I'm an earnings whore, so I want percent earnings per share growth for 5 years. I want descending, I want the highest at the top, and I want to give it a weighting of double. Okay. Then I want to add percent. You notice it's the same exact steps as the as building a filter. 1 year, that was 5 year, right? I want this to be a 3, a weighted. Okay, then I want to look at quarter over quarter. Give it 150 rating. So right here, this combo rank, if I apply it to the chart, it should bring the things with great earnings to the top. All right. Now, we could go take a look at that, look at a couple, and see if I don't see good earnings year over year. Yeah. Here's the earnings per change. Quarter per quarter, yeah, these are the quarter-and-quarter earnings. Let's go into EPS change over 12 months is 340%. So all I did is I hyper-select by combo those things with great earnings. But you notice I still got my 8,026 stocks there. Now, I might want to, I could add volume. I could add anything to this. So I'm not going to go too much more detail right now because I just looked at the clock. Let me give you some important shortcuts, okay? It's one thing to show you how you can create everything on your own. The other one is to show you that there's a bunch in here that you really don't probably need to do much on your own. If you've loaded all the add-ons, you will have starters, Steckler, Gallard. You might not have starters anymore. Classic, I think you get strategies. You get Woodward and Brown. You get me, Connors, Morales, and maybe Morpheus. The user views, these are all mine. You're going to get my favorites either at the meeting or before the meeting. And there's some that I like a lot. When it comes to the views, what I use are my base view is what I showed you before, is when I want to bring it down to $2.50 and 150,000 shares. I also have put into this base view, because I save this spreadsheet every Friday. I might want to save it more frequently. And so I put all the things that I might possibly want to save here. And then by doing File, Save as HTML, I can save an HTML file. I usually put the date on them, 6.5.14, and all the information that's in this spreadsheet is now fixed for posterity's sake. And I can use it in other programs, do whatever I want. So I built this to have the things that I think might be important to me tomorrow when I want to do some analysis that I'm not doing today. So I use Scorecard because it's balanced, technicals, and fundamentals. You will find Scorecard. Here's the current Ian and Ron. And I haven't even looked at this, so I'm just like you. Classic Woodward, Scorecard, ERG 240 box stocks. Here's Scorecard. It's different than mine, but it's essentially the same. He's got a different price and volume filter, I can almost guarantee you. In fact, let's look at that. So if I was to change that to two, I'm not going to. But if I was to change that to 250 and 150,000, we'd have the same thing. The reason they put this here is they don't want IPOs that have not been put into a group yet. So if you don't have a sector, then that means it's a new stock or it's an index or it's a funny thing that we don't want to look at. So that eliminates, certain but not a lot of different things. You can take it out if you want. But the reason that you would want to use this view is because of the combo rank. In the combo rank, top stocks to trade based on both technical and fundamental factors, strong earnings and revenue growth over the past year, strong relative strength, group rank, accumulation, ROE, etc. So they're eliminating stocks based upon price, and then they're ranking them on the best of. Now, this has taken forever, but I knew it would. My wife's asleep, so I'm not having to run off. So I'll keep going for a little bit longer. So scorecard, one of my favorites, okay? If you look within the variations, he has one scorecard where he tightens up, ERG 240, so it's strong EPS, relative strength, and group rank. Let me talk about the ERG number. The highest ERG you can have is 297 because it is 99, 99, 99. So if we do this, we should get the number to, oh my God, this. I don't know if you're blacked out or if I'm the only thing that's blacked out, but it drives me crazy. So now we're down to 183 stocks because they're all, well, they've all got strong EPS, relative strength, and group rank. Now somebody asked me about the absolute number of raw combo. It's meaningless. It's calculated by the value that comes out of a combo ranking, which is only related to how much stuff you have in there. So if I put a lot of different things in, I'll get a totally different combo ranking number. And comparing it from one combo rank to another is meaningless. Comparing one stock to another stock within the same ranker is where you get the value. So these are the best of the best. And I hope you own a bunch of these because these are the things that have been moving. Others in this one, the box stocks, okay, 636 because they've include all 1 through 9 boxes. This might be another good place for you to fish from. So added technically and fundamental strong, and then they added all boxes. So we'd asked last time about a bingo filter. So here is a bingo that this is looking for stocks that got trashed and then have had a 5 or 10-day pocket pivot and are ranked by the scorecard. So here are stocks. So we're going to look at them and see. I've not looked at this before. Like I said, I don't use everything. Filter. This filter requires so you got to be higher than the previous 10-day volume you're in, 2 and 250, up for the day, common stock, day since bingo stock. So it had a bingo within the last 10 days. Someone asked if there's a bingo filter. Here it is, days since bingo. So all of these stocks should have been trashed because the bingo is the Ian language for baby out with the bathwater. And then within 10 days of the bingo, they have a pocket pivot. Notice they're all red, so they're not necessarily going to be high-quality stocks. Here's IM Gold. Here's your bingos, trash time, Kahuna, big volume, big move up, and I don't see the pocket pivot, but I guess this was a pocket pivot today because this volume here, the close is higher than the prior day close, so even though it's a red candle, that's a green volume, so it probably is a pocket pivot. The next one, Just Energy. And you know, it's not firing pocket pivot probably because I turned off below the 200-day moving average. Gigantic volume on an up day, so you know this is a pocket pivot. 1, 2, 3, 4. But it's well below the 200-day moving average, so something that's been trashed and big volume price move. Titan International, all right, this one's a lot more interesting. So I don't see the bingo, so we didn't plot a bingo, but it met the characteristics of the bingo on the filter, which is interesting. Next one is Hilltop Holdings. There's your bingo. There's your pocket pivot and a Kahuna. So not something that I routinely use, but this was one of the other questions from last time. So continuing on in a theme, the next group that you might want to look at are your force index scans. And so these are the stocks. Here's that 2-day up force that I use. And it requires, his filter requires that the stocks have to be part of an industry group. So again, it's another way of eliminating IPOs or preferreds or strange things that we don't historically look at. So 2-day force is up, everything is green. And so this is only ranking them by momentum, price times volume, plotted with a 2-day exponential. These are the things that are moving. The problem with this view is lots of volume trumps price move. So a lot of times, there's different settings on the different views, and that's why it might look different with the bongos and the bingos. And a lot has to do with the way that I'm defining the volume close. I can make mine look like Gil's and Gil's look like mine, and I'll try and make that consistent when we do our live meeting. If I want to look at force down, and you know I use the 2-day up and down all the time on my weekend reviews, so I don't usually look at stocks with this, but it might be a way to find momentum down or up. Okay. Another thing that I like to use, top-down analysis, and I always go to this one when I look at indexes, but frankly, let's take a look at it. Top-down analysis view and combo may be applied to any index, industry groups, markets, or stocks. Securities are ranked from top to bottom by the combo, which finds percent price movement on 1 and 5 days, increased accumulation, increasing force, which considers price and volume. So it's all price and volume. All price and volume can be applied to anything. Heavier weights, the short term, but it does go back with the 13-day force. So it's picking stocks that are in big, powerful moves. And we should see what we see. Nice big up move on Argan, Tuesday morning. So it's just finding stocks that are having a power move. And the nice thing about this, well, since this is being driven by the combo more than the filter, all the stocks or the majority of the stocks are being captured. Show you, so I personally use, as a routine, I use the top-down views, I use the forced 2-day up and 2-day down, I use the scorecard view or derivations of it, and then I use the one that has stocks and groups moving to the upside and downside, which I think is nope. It's in here somewhere, but it's not, you know, I have them all pulled down, so here it is. Stocks and groups moving to the upside. Dropped it down to 2168, and again, it's all these have both positive action in the stock and the industry group is moving to the upside. So that is the basics of the view. There's so much stuff here. That's the part that's kind of craziness. Show you a little trick. Let's go to my scorecard. See if I can make this work. So this is a different number, and the reason is because Ron worked with me on this one, and I believe we added something about the group and sector. They're not groups, and they have to be part of a sector. So it's eliminating some new issues, which is why the number is down to 2587. I go under, so what I'd like to kind of see is how do I compare these with a ranking module of those. So I'm going to go to Tools, the ranking and warehouse horizontally. And if I didn't have a fast computer, that would have taken forever. So I've got raw relative strength. I've set relative strength to be percent change over 3 weeks. And then I've got my scorecard index here. So I can basically find where these are falling. So I could look here, and my number one stock is VIPS. There's probably a shortcut to do this, but I just go Tools, Tile Ranker, and then VIPS will show up here. And I can see it's been up 10% over the last 3 weeks. And from a raw relative strength, out of 2587, it's 312. I might go to the top one. The top one is Procenso Holdings. It's up 77% in 3 days, or 3 weeks rather. And if I just do this and click on, it shows me it's number 853, and I can see stuff about it. It's in the biotech figures, EPS rank. So it's a way of me combining the relative strength rankers that we have here with the fundamentals that I have down here. And again, Mankind, I'm going to look at that stock and maybe make a comment that will get me into trouble. Tools, ranking and warehouse. So when I did that, I found it's number 1421 out of 2,587 securities. So it's near the middle to the bottom. This stock has been on a tear. Both Ghilardi and I are not big fans of the company story, but they've got an inhalable insulin that the FDA is going to rule on in July. It's been a storied stock. You can see a pocket pivot to the downside today on massive volume and a red candle high. It's been a big mover over the last 10 days. And you could see going back to 2011, the stock runs up, then the FDA denies it, and it comes down. So it's going up for its third attempt. It once was a $20 stock, and it's now a $10 stock. And there's a lot. I think a lot of individuals got on this stock. I don't know what to think. If the drug gets approved, the stock probably goes up. I think the odds are probably slightly in its favor. Well, Bradley, it is a huge idea, and I think the odds are slightly in its favor, 60-40, maybe 70-30 that it gets approved. There's some logistical nightmares with this drug from a storage perspective, a refrigeration, and a shipment. And the scary part is they have not announced a partner. If they announced a partner, then you would know that a Lilly or somebody else was going to back them. So I think this is an interesting play. I think this is kind of a bearish for the next couple of days. But if this one comes back and pauses, you may want to play it. But keep in mind that this is a play on an FDA approval that's a month out. And today was a big volume sell-off. But it's only down a little bit less than 5%. And I agree, if it's effective, an inhaled insulin would be a lot better than giving shots. So again, there's some fleas to the story, but boy, has it become the darling of Wall Street. So I've gone over let me go back to my PowerPoint on the other screen, see what else I missed. Oh yeah, Spectrum Analyzer. I did it last week, and if you don't have what I have, don't worry. you will have it by next week or by when you get here. In the spectrum analysis button, so you can pick whatever view you want. It can be 8,000 stocks. It can be 500 stocks. When you open up Spectrum Analyzer, it is going to break these down by the same issues we've been looking at all night long. It's what's so cool about this program is the same characteristics across everything that we do. So you might want to, I'm not sure if I would ever do this, but I might want to see, let's break it down by, it's not going to do what I want, but so there was one, I guess the other, I wonder, that should be Morningstar. I don't know why it says box, unless those were box. Well, you could go to, what we usually use this for is, okay, I'm going to go back because I still don't know why it didn't change here. This takes down whatever is in your warehouse view and breaks them out by industry. So these 2,587 stocks are contained in 184 industries, which is interesting because that means 10 industries aren't in here. And you could see that the big one is banks, exploration. Now, I don't know if this actually means anything because this is kind of a broad-based list. So let me go and, oh, God. All right, well, I really appreciate the person that sent me this pointer thing, and I'm not blaming them, but I think this pointer thing's a problem. Let me pick something different. Let me go and look at my buy watch from this weekend. And now I want to do this, because now I've identified what I thought were the best of the best. And now this tells me a lot. And I don't want boxes. I want to go back and look at industry. So now the stocks that I thought were the best of the best were in 36 industries. So this tells me a lot. The top two, oil and gas and midstream. All right? So that might be interesting if you're trying to figure out what is working and what is not working, with the assumption that if you find a lot of good things and they're in only a limited number of industries, or certain industries have the majority, then they might be important. And you can really go through, you can look at by EPS rank. Now, I don't know why that's not doing that. Well, well, I've got something that I've done wrong here. I guess the other way to go into them, this is the part that I don't know that you have. They're called custom slices, and maybe that's where I should be doing this from. Let's look at, I could do ERG slices, or ERG greater than 240. So this tells me which percent are above 240 and which are less than 240. So it also then gives me a list of the stocks who have the higher ERG. I can go back in here, load custom slice options. I can break it down by, well, I could do it by market cap. And I can see the majority of the stocks that made it to my buy watch were actually large and mid caps, and that smaller percentage is small and micro. I could go through here, load custom slices options, and I could look at relative strength ranking and break out by which groups. So the majority of them have relative strength greater than 80%, and this is a weird group, but these are groups that have low relative strength. Now, if I look at it, they all have one other thing. they have a lot of dividend players and a couple things that I was bottom fishing. So again, not something that I always use, except I go to the 9-box matrix, and it's a godsend on this one. That's the spectrum analyzer. So I've covered what I want, so I always like to look at charts, and since I haven't done my review, I'm going to very quickly go through our top 15 and then answer any remaining questions. And this will be placed in your mailboxes before I go to bed tonight. Not your mailboxes, your drop boxes. All right. So we looked at VIPs already. Mobo breakout, everything is green. Pocket pivot today, in an uptrend, great earnings per share growth, pull back, it's ready to run again. It's been a big mover. Lynette, we've also looked at already, pull back. I bought back when it crossed back above the 50 and the 8 over here. We had a pocket pivot around there. Mobo breakout from the squeeze, running again, turned green on the bongos. SanDisk we looked at before. Yes, I'll do that in a second, Brad. Lower left, upper right, big leader. I don't love its earnings per share growth, but you can't buy an electronic toy today and not have SanDisk flash memory. Micron, another memory manufacturer, DRAMs, all green. Big uptrend. I own some of this one. It's been a nice behavior. This is when everything got ugly in the NASDAQ 100. Look at the earnings per share growth. Anybody remember what we would call this? What kind of a box is this stock? What box is this stock? Correct. It's box 7, a turnaround after lousy earnings turned positive with major growth. Under Armour. I don't know if it's Jim, a couple of people have been buying this on Gil's board, and you know, they started talking about it back here with the pocket pivots, and it had a Mobo breakout and then a series of pocket pivots, and really has had a nice move off the 200-day moving average, which it kissed down here. Still probably has room to go. EOG Resources, we all know that energy has been moving. This is beautiful lower left, upper right. Cavium broke out this week. You know, here's a stock. It's too late for me to buy it now, but down here is when it was buyable. We had multiple pocket pivots, a kahuna, a Mobo breakout from a squeeze, and the technicals up there all turned green. So this was where it got interesting for me, and then earnings came out, and it's off to the running. Lam Research, I think we looked at this before. What a big move here. Great earnings per share growth. Slowing down, but still pretty impressive, but it's in the right group. And then the other thing I noticed this weekend, hotels are up all over the place. And I don't know if it's because they're REITs, many of them, and that's why they're up. But a lot of hotel chains or hotel REITs were up. And I mean, I'm not sure that I correlate earnings the same way, but it's nice to have earnings to pay the dividend. And what a big power move Host Marriott had today. ETE, I talked about this probably a month ago as one of the leaders, dividend player, natural gas or oil transmission, natural gas transmission, and pays a 2.7% dividend. Paid a lot bigger dividend at $40 than it pays at $54. And then Sanderson, bunch of pocket pivots before it took off. Calpine, is this a utility? You know, I never like to see utilities up at the top, but this has a chart that looks more like a growth stock, and it doesn't pay dividends. So these are the things that were in the group inclusion filters. This was talked about on the board. This has showed up now for about 3 weeks. And I know that Ron Brown spotted it back down here and has been in it and have made some money on it. Spirit Airlines, you know, not the best looking airline, but maybe the best one to buy from the perspective of 4 pocket pivots in the last 4 days. Makes money, and is this the last one? All right. We'll look at Gentherm, and then I'll put up Delta and compare it to Spirit. Gentherm was a stock that I had talked about a lot, again, 3 or 4 weeks ago, and then it sold off. Touched the 50 here. Looks like it wants to run again. Had a mobile breakout today. Everything's green. Had a kahuna on Wednesday and a pocket pivot. So we looked at Spirit, and it's interesting that Spirit is the airline that came up on our list. The one that I'm in, I hate to touch anything because it's going to black out my screen. The one that I'm in is Delta, and these guys have just been an amazing run, but it probably doesn't matter which one. So here's a little trick. I put my pointer in the chart, I right-click, and I say change to industry group, and I left-click on that. And now all the comparators are in here. So Alaska's been a great stock. Kind of looks like Delta, doesn't it? And American has done well. Kind of looks like Delta once it gapped up here when the FTC said they let them do this. But what's beautiful here is you can find something you like, and then you can switch to industry group, and you're able to then compare it to others in the group. And I went back, so I'm back to the same place. All right, now my voice is getting tired, so let me, at the risk of messing you up, or messing up my computer again, why do I save as an HTML? Because I'm anal, because I'm silly, because I want to back test, because I can, because I like my toys, and because I actually sometimes go back and use this. But I also print this out in various formats or put it on my iPad, so wherever I'm at, I know what stocks I wanted to play with. So the first thing I did is I was in my warehouse view. Like, for example, let's say you want your cheat sheet by tomorrow and you're going to be traveling, and you're a Gilmo fan, as I am. So I'm going to go up here into the All Securities. I'm going to go into View, and I'm going to go to Morales and Catcher, and I'm going to go Code Blue. That's a lot of stocks. 890, combo driven, Code Blue, pocket pivots. So these are their kind of stocks. Now, file, save as HTML, and I'm going to call this MK Code Blue, and it's 6.5.14, and I'm going to save it. So I might want to save this every day, so I might go back at some point in the future and want to understand, was this combo really working for me? So the way I save them for posterity is I get an Excel spreadsheet. I might call this sheet MK combo 6.5. And then it's as simple as File, Open, Computer. I saved it on the desktop, I believe. There it is. Here it is. Copy. And take it into my Excel. And then what I do is paste special, and then I use the one that keeps formatting the column with the same. And so now I can do a lot of different things. I can print out the list. I can keep every day for a month or 2 or 3 and go back and back test. I might want to follow these tomorrow. So I'm going to highlight the top 20. There's other ways of doing this, but I would then perhaps pull up my trade station and bring it over here and put on my big radar and put label, insert label row, MK combo, Code Blue 6.5, and now I'm going to paste those cells that I had in my Excel spreadsheet, and now I can track these guys tomorrow, and you can get an idea of why they made it into that combo, because look at these things. These are all the Bible gap ups today. They all have pocket pivots. So it's just a way for me to store things. And then I, being a little bit anal, and can you tell how many emails I send you about that? But a little bit of analness, trying to stay clean is not a bad thing. And then I use my master spreadsheets to follow things from week to week to week, and then to export them when I want to use them in EdgeRater. So on that note, my voice is about ready to die. Apologize again for the technical issue and for fumbling around a little bit. So if you have HGSI, you should have gotten a note every time you update HGSI about my webinar Sunday. I will forward the invite to everybody who's on this call. I will do less teaching and more going through quickly how I use the tools. You know, I appreciate those of you that commented that no one can know everything. I don't know everything. I use what I use. I mean, and it works for me. I mean, today, this was another great week, and I'm having a lot of fun in this market, and I'm getting ready to go, I'll go short when it's time. I guess Gil called the top today, and, you know, if you watched my webinar from Sunday, which I didn't really plan on doing, and I was a little drunk when I did it, which is why I messed up on the formatting, I said it in the beginning. When last week ended, I felt like we were going to melt up this week and that we'd have a big bull move, top, and roll over. And then as I looked on my weekend, I thought the market looked a lot uglier underneath the headlines, and so I was confused. I think Monday and Tuesday were confused. When you look at the change between 10:30 in the morning, 11 o'clock, and the close, that's a confused market. I also used to learn that when you close at the highs of the day after being down in the morning, that's kind of called a bull market. I wonder if we're in that melt up right now. That's what it felt like today. So we'll see. So I hope you all are learning something from this. HGSI is an amazing program. I think you're seeing that it doesn't get marketed well enough. There's maybe too much power. I know George and all of us struggle with how much to put out in the release versus add-ons, but appreciate you being here and look forward to seeing everybody live in a couple of weeks. If you're bringing your spouse, please let me know, and then just bring a check for $85 for dinner on Sunday, and you will have a great time. See you all then. Thanks, everybody.